Hi everybody, welcome to the channel. Hope you're doing well today. So today what we're going to be doing is replacing a steering output ring on my Minn Kota Terrova trolling motor. It shouldn't be too complicated, shouldn't take that long. Mine got broken, not quite sure what happened to it. It either got broken out on the water or sliding around in the back of my truck. We'll go ahead and get going on that, and I'll show you what all's involved. All right, so this is the new output ring, and this is what comes up out of your steering box here, and engages the head of the trolling motor, and with this part right there, it engages it into the steering box. So like I said, they call this the output ring, and as you can see, mine's broken right here. A fairly common problem, and unfortunately what you have to do to fix it is take the steering box apart. So as you can see, there's a seam right here, and so it'll come apart, and we'll open this up and replace that ring right there. Okay, so to start with, first thing we have to do is remove this control head so that we can take the shaft and pull the shaft out of the steering box. Once we have the shaft out of the steering box, then we'll remove the steering box from the plate, and once we've done that, then we can take the steering box apart, replace this output ring, and put it back together, and we should be done. So the only thing, this lift assist here is connected here on the end, and it's spring loaded. You can see there's a spring steel right there that winds up into this lift assist, and so that's under quite a bit of tension. So after we pull this shaft out and we get ready to, we need to take this lift assist off before we can get into the steering box. So So here it's simple enough. We can disconnect the top of this head. Like so, and then we're going to need to disconnect this universal sonar. And then we're going to have to disconnect both of these so that these two wires, we can pop this head off, and these two wires, all three of these, will slide down through that, with the shaft, through that steering box. Black to black, red to red. Right. So there's all three of them. Okay, so now that we've got those loose, there's another screw right here that holds this head onto the shaft. here. Alright, I don't know if you can see that. There's another wire right there. Okay, so they've got shrink wrap on this one, heat shrink on this one, so I'm going to cut that heat shrink off and disconnect that and then replace that heat shrink when we're done. So there we go. Now we can remove this head. Okay, now we should be able to pull this shaft. I'm going to remove this depth gauge and pull this shaft right on through the steering box. Okay, now before we pull this shaft out of the steering box, this lift assist is spring loaded. So this is one end here that curls up into here, and then the other end is attached to this ring right here. So as the motor is deployed, it pulls on this spring. So before we pull the motor and the shaft out of the steering box, we need to disconnect this right here. You can let it slide up, take most of the tension off of it. The other half, the spring is held onto here with a screw right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the shaft out and we're going to leave this and this, so both sides of the spring will be on each side of the steering box. So what we're left here with is the end of this spring being held in right here with that Allen head screw. So what we need to do is find a way to hold the spring here so it doesn't wind up in here when we take it loose here. Now, what I've found, I'll show you. All right. Okay. So after we remove this spring, we're going to have to feed the spring back through here before we reinstall the shaft. So what I'm going to do is take this end of the spring and we'll remove it from this block. I'm going to put it in this tube, and I'm going to take a screw and fix it inside this tube. Now I've got something that will help me pull the spring back through when I need to pull it back through, but then it'll also keep it from rolling all the way back up in here. And I can gently let it go through, like so. We've got the shaft out. We're going to need to get the foot pedal off of this, the steering box off of this frame so that we can get to the screws up underneath. Now, if you can see right here is the shaft that goes through the steering box, and it's basically just got a push nut on both sides of it. So we just need to remove the push nut from one side and pull that shaft through and release this steering box. Okay, so here's the shaft. Basically, I just work this push nut washer off with two flat heads on each side. Just worked it off that way. Pulled the shaft through this way. And now we've got our steering box loose. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws to take loose, and then we should be able to pop this top right off here. Should be able to pry this top and bottom apart. Gently, there is there is a O-ring in there. And there's a slot right here on this side where you can get it started. This way with it. Okay. Alright, now we should just be able to take this broken one. Put a new one back in there. Alright, now that we've got it back together, we're going to put this pivot pin back through. Put something there to guide it a little bit. lock ring still looks like it's in good shape. Go there. Go ahead and put these side panels back on. Now we just need to put the spring back in through here, and then put the shaft back through. So. All right, so here is where we're going to be able to use our hose and pull our spring back through our steering box. And hook it back. Shaft, or thing that anchors it onto the shaft. Out. All right, so now we're gonna put our shaft back through. now that we've got that back on, we'll take this end of the lift and hook it back onto here. Should be ready to put the head back on. Alright, so now we should be able to be ready to put the head back on. Before we do that, we want to put our lock back on. Back through here. This bolt here does go through that shaft, so you have to be careful not to pinch any of your wires. So, this brown one here is the one that they had the shrink tube on. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that. right, so that's it. Wasn't too bad. So here's the new one. Here's the broken one. So just that seal was still, O-ring type seal was still good. Like I said, mine's less than a year old. I know they sell all the new seals for that gearbox. If yours is older and you feel like they might need to be replaced, they make like a seal kit. While you got it apart, you can replace all the seals. That spring, lift assist spring, can be kind of a bear, but I think what I've kind of figured out with that plastic tube to hold the end of it, to pull it back through and let it out, works pretty good. So other than that, wasn't much that I struggled with, but this, just that spring, you got to be careful. It will bite you if you're not careful. So other than that, everything looks good. Let me know if you guys got any questions. All right, so that's it. Didn't take too long, just took me a little while to figure out what to do with that spring and what was the best way to keep that thing from cutting loose. So I think that little bit of flexible hose with the screw through it worked pretty good. I'm sure you can come up with a couple of different ways to do it. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description for that part. They're not very expensive, a few dollars plus shipping. So I'll put an Amazon link in there for that one. And other than that, if anybody's got any questions, just let me know. So I appreciate everybody watching. Have a good one.